Alright guys, welcome back. Solo Shop. I'm going to look at the suspension parts today. I just opened the two boxes that were beat, all the smithereens, that held the upper control arms and the lower control arms. So this is one. Pretty cool because, you know, some of the stuff is already on there. When I say on there, it's already assembled. They kind of assembled it as it would be on the truck. Comes with instructions, you know, so it's actually showing you how to put all the cover and the this ball joint, those kind of things, you know, all together assembly, but they've already done that, so that's pretty cool. Let's look at one of these. I'm going to primer these and paint these prior to putting them on, just so, you know, and then I'll probably have to end up touching them up, but anyway, this is the upper and lower control arms. Sorry for the camera. So, I mean, they look in good shape. I don't know where they move, as they should. They got some grease around them, probably to reduce rust and stuff, so that's a pretty good sign. While I'm at it, let me just, again, sorry for the rapid movement. There's my 27 Chevy. That'll be potentially coming up next after the 49 is done. Or I'm trying to sell it. I do have it listed, so if anybody's interested. So cross members in, perches are in, front radiator mount is in. See my other videos for all that installation. I did take the ear for the shock adjusters. I took those out just for painting. They're right here on the bench, and I'll put those back on. I think what I'm going to go, I'm going to go with black on the frame, but then I'm going to tape off. I'm probably going to, you know, just kind of cover this whole thing with black. Then I'm going to go with probably like a metallic silver for all the suspension pieces. Anyway. Alright, welcome back guys. So, control arms, upper and lower. So what I did was I took some TSP, watered it down. It's a cleaning agent for prepping for paint. Wiped them down, and then I went with a self-etching primer and primered the control arms. And then I used this all-in-one fusion. It's metallic dark metal. Once I did I did 2 coats. One coat of the etching primer, 2 coats of the metallic, and then I did a clear coat, and I'm on the second coated clear coat, and that'll be it for the control arms as far as prepping them. We're going to continue our Mustang II independent front suspension Mustang II from Speedway Motors bolt-in kit. Previous videos that I shot, I installed the cross member, also installed the radiator support between the frame, cut all that old out, put in all the new. So I'm going to continue on the process to assemble the front suspension. The first thing I'm doing is the upper control arms, which right here, it takes 2 bolts. They're T-bolts that come with the kit. They go up from the bottom, nuts come on top. The big thing to note on these is one side of them, and I apologize because I put this together already, but one side is like waffled or knurled, which is meant to sit down on the perch and kind of grip in once all this is all tightened down. So I did paint them, but right here you'll see some paint coming off, but well, that's just more paint that is going to be necessary later on to touch up everything. These spindles just spin right in. I put some anti-seize on them just so that they would run smooth. Once together, there's a boot that goes on this and a castle nut with a cotter pin. So I'll get to that once I assemble the bottom. So basically the exact same thing on both sides to do the upper control arm. Actually, this one you might be able to see, yeah, see the knurls right there underneath, or like the waffle look. That is the underside. Make sure that that is facing down. Okay. Also, just to make sure that y'all know, it does come with a kit with the instructions for the upper control arms. And I'm basically just going and doing exactly what they tell you. See right there? T-nuts from underneath, nuts on top. The what is that? The screw-in ball joint is going to go down through, then the boot, and then the spindles is going to come into play, which we'll get to in a bit. Okay, so the springs that I'm going to be using are from Speedway Motors, obviously. Coil spring, I use the 500. I called Speedway prior to ordering them with the kit. You do have to choose. And they told me 500 is the good. But check these things out, man. Sweet. Also got the coilovers, the shocks, looking good. So these will obviously go in between the upper control arm and the lower control arm. Just while I'm doing this, taping this part, I chose originally stock spindles, which would mean that I would have about the same height, stock height, but I had kind of a thought, and so now I went ahead and ordered the drop springs, the 2-inch drop springs. I haven't opened these up yet. I will here in a second. And I want to put the drop springs on them. Speedway Motors was really cool about just swapping them out. Of course, I haven't installed them or anything, so I'll be sending the others back. Yep, and here they are. Looking pretty sharp, looking good. I'm gonna go ahead and get these primered up, painted, ready to install. All right, y'all, so I wanted to show you this. This is pretty cool. Going by the instructions, I just downloaded them online, easier to keep up with than pieces of paper. This is the lower control arm. This is one of the sides. And what you'll see here is you've got these spacers that come with the kit that go in between the cross member and then on the other side of the cross member to bolt them all together. But this cross member in the kit already has that stuff in there, and it's welded on. So you see this spacer here, that's welded on already, and then the spacer in between is also welded on. So really all you do is you take the lower control arm, like so, you line it up with the holes on each end, you put your bolt in per the instruction, and again, I'm not tightening anything down right now, but basically that was really nice. So that's upper control arm, lower control arm. The bushing, I think it's called a bushing, is going to go in here. The spindle is going to go in between with the coil and the shock. Okay, y'all, so the first complaint actually that I have on this whole entire setup. The shocks, as far as I know, they're great looking, they're great shocks, but they come with the bushing, if you will, to bolt on to the lower control arm right there. the bolt that you use doesn't fit into the sleeve. Well, okay. So they send you 2 new sleeves. Take this one out, put this one in. They have snap rings on each side. Well, I've already cut these out because they were actually a pain. So I ended up cutting them out. By the way, I did go to Harbor Freight and get a tool that's supposed to take off snap rings. That was about worthless. So I just took my Dremel, cut them out, just cut here, cut on the other side, and then just took some pliers, pulled them off on each side. I've got more snap rings, no big deal. $3.99 at Harbor Freight for a whole 300 of them. So once I get the new sleeve in, I'll just use new snap rings for each side. So here's the problem, and here's the complaint. It took forever to get that sleeve out. Now this one's still in there, so I think I have a way to do it now, but I've researched, and I still have to, I have to put this one in, right? This is the new one. And I think they're the same diameter, so it's going to go in easier than probably that one that comes out. So I soaked it with PB blasters, just to get it lubricated to where it would slide better. And what I found that worked was, sorry for the camera, guys. Let me get this, that old one out. So what I did was, I did see on YouTube where a guy basically put this on the side of the vise, and then this lip right here on there, and then just kind of tighten it easily, and it did. It worked. I got it to where the grommet was. So let me see if I can set this up. Alright, so hopefully you can see that. So what I've done is take this out, okay, and you're going to angle it like this. You're going to get that little clip in, that little edge here, and you're just going to start tightening it, and you'll see it start to move. It does help, if you put a little bit of penetrating oil in there first. I think. Heck, I didn't even try this without it, so. Get a little off track, just kind of loosen it up, realign it. Now, why they didn't just, they come in with the proper sleeve, and why they didn't send that one, I don't know. Alright, so once you get it down to about even, I then put it in the vise like so. And again, that sleeve you're not going to use, so I just tighten it down. And then I just gently work it. Just gently, ever so gently. I'm not pushing it really hard at all. And you can see that it's starting to come, see? And again, not pushing it at all. There you go. Okay folks, I know I kind of jumped way ahead, but I only did one side. I want to explain the other side a bit better. So, kind of wasn't terribly difficult. Make sure that these guys right here are tightened all the way down. I put some, Loctite on most of the fittings. Put some anti-seize on the adjuster here. Castle nuts on the spindle, you know, up there and on the bottom. So I want to jump to the other side, and hopefully it'll go on fairly quick. Alright y'all, so let's try to do this in an expedited manner. So I don't like stickers on stuff. They give you stickers, QA shocks do, so you can put, you know, their logos, make them like, you know, performance or something. I don't care for stickers, like, at all. But thank the Lord, this comes off really easy, which is not necessarily always the case. So remember, you had to replace this sleeve. I replaced the sleeve, put new locking pins on it, spring clips on it. First of all, what we're going to do is, here's the spring that came with the kit. Really nice and shiny, really nice. Here's the adjustment slides for the shock in this package. That's your base. It's got a shoulder on it. I'll show you that in a minute. This is your bearing and adjustment shoulder or adjustment nozzle, whatever you want to call it. Then the upper, and this is the upper mounts where it'll go up underneath and on top of the adjustment on your control arms. This is also for your spring. It's a noise reducer. You stick that on there, and once you install it, that way you won't get any squeaking. They say to use Permatex, so I do. Some spots I use Loctite. I do. Here's my spindle that is already painted the same color as my upper and lower control arms. And so, again, make sure these are seated tightly. So what you do is you take your shock and you, I go ahead and put some anti-seize on the bottom of it. No need to coat the whole thing because those adjustments are going to be on the bottom. And you want to do this so that you can adjust them easily when all the weight's sitting back on the truck. It does get a little messy. So remember I told you that this first ring has a little shoulder on it. It's just like a little bit of a raise ring around it. That faces up. And it just screws on. And you screw it all the way down to just about the last couple threads. Because you're going to be adjusting them, so. About right there or so. Okay, and then you're going to take your, I just call it a hat if you will. That's going to go on next. Do the same thing. The hat is, I think, the actual adjustment ring. And I'm gonna, because I didn't put any, I'm gonna go ahead and put a little bit more NICs just a little bit higher on the threads, just so I can make sure that I cover this adjustment ring. I do not sit it down on the other, I just leave a little bit of a gap. Then the next thing is your thrust ring. There is another kit that has 3 pieces, which QA1, which is the maker of these shocks, I think they recommend. Basically, what it is it's 2 of these rings, and then there's like a little, it almost acts like a roller bearing in between them, to where if you're spinning the shock or the spring, to adjust the spring, it makes it flow easier. I don't have that, I didn't buy one, so instead what they say is to coat one side of the ring with anti-seize just to give it some lubrication, and then set it down on top of the adjustment, because your spring's going to sit right on top of that. So then when you turn, it'll flow easy, so where you can adjust your spring. So next, I'm going to put that down for a second. I'm going to take this out. This is your spring for your lower control arm. Hoping you can see that, which then holds the shock through that sleeve on the bottom. I'm going to put a little bit of Loctite on just the bottom threads, not much. And I'm going to feed that through. Get it started. And then I think I got the right. Yep. Okay, and then just tighten it down. I'm not like torquing it or anything. Just get it tight to where I can, move this around. All right, here we go. So instead of the instructions say to start from the bottom, but I end up going from the top down on the other one, so I think it works better. Basically, you put the spindle up here, you put your castle nut in, you keep these bolts loose for the time being. Then you put all your system together down there. Flip this out, this up. And an important note, put this down on the bottom there. Because that'll be your bushing for underneath. Put your noise reduction. And lift it up into place. Swing this out. Again, challenging to do with 2 hands, but you can do it. Lining up lining up everything as it should. And the castle nut. So, squeeze free. And And then basically what I do, the castle nuts, once they're tightened up to torque, it's 38 to 57 pounds. You line up the hole, you put the cotter pin in like so, and then you twist it around. I'm not at that point to tighten everything up, but what I do then now is take a jack. And I want to lift up on that lower control arm, so I want to go ahead and seat that shock in the adjustment up here, up on the top. Or at least start it. Bushing first. Once you get it started, you can tighten it down. Where you're comfortable. At the same time, I let this down to a point where I want this upper control arm to be about the center. And actually, I'm done there. So I can like move this to the center at this point, or just close, and going ahead and tighten those down. And again, they're knurled on the one side, so they're going to bind in to the actual metal. And at this point, that's what you do. So what I'll do is I'm going to torque these down to spec. Put the cotter pins in, and that should do it for this side. Hey, welcome back to Solo Shop. Just for a comparison, if you ever wanted to know the difference between a 2-inch drop spindle and a normal stock spindle for a classic truck, classic Chevy truck anyway, mine's a 49, as you guys know. This is the difference. So this is a drop spindle, 2-inch drop spindle that I installed to keep it as best as possible. That would sit right about there, and that would sit right about there. So you see 2 inches, okay, 2-inch difference. What it does is this moves this up to where the frame is actually higher, to where the actual body of the truck is sitting lower. So with 2-inch drop and with the adjustable shocks as I got, I should be able to get the right height that I'm looking for. Thought you might guys like to see that. Next time for Solo Shop. If you like this, please subscribe, like, follow. Many more videos on the old 49.